This is 5 on your side at noon. Focused on you.
It was a long night across central Florida. Hurricane Milton thrashed the Sunshine State from Sarasota to Orlando. At least 4 people have died. More than 3 million customers have been without power since the start of the storm. Governor Ron DeSantis says water levels may continue to rise for days, but it was not the worst case scenario. Thanks for being here. I'm Kay Quinn. Milton is still a hurricane, but it's now out in the Atlantic. The storm made landfall last night in the Gulf as a Category 3, pummeling Florida's Gulf Coast with heavy rain and winds. Winds that shredded the roof of the Tropicana field. This is the home of the Tampa Bay Rays in St. Petersburg. Panels of the Dome Stadium torn to bits by 100-plus mile-per-hour winds. The ballpark was set to host 10,000 first responders and cleanup crews. Those plans changed as the storm got closer. It's not yet clear if the stadium suffered any structural damage. City leaders say there were no injuries reported in that part of downtown St. Petersburg. Missourians headed to Florida to help. Governor Mike Parson has ordered 100 National Guard troops, 21 Highway Patrol troopers, civilian support staff, and 5 disaster medical assistance teams to help with recovery efforts. They'll be in Florida between 5 and 20 days. Volunteers with the American Red Cross Greater St. Louis are already there. And as we've told you, millions of homes and businesses are without power across Florida. NBC's Jay Gray is in Fort Myers as damage assessments roll in.
Yeah, let's give you an idea of what's going on right now. The core of this storm has moved off the peninsula. It's still the back end of this hurricane causing some problems along the East Coast. But let's talk specifically right now about Fort Myers here on the west side of Florida. And this is where the storm made landfall. We're about 80 miles from the center of landfall here. So we saw significant rain, hurricane-force winds that pushed a storm surge into businesses along the coastline here. So storm surge was definitely an issue, but you also saw freshwater flooding from these rains. And some areas saw close to 20 inches of rain as the storm moved through. Standing water in the downtown area of Fort Myers right now, that is receding according to the mayor. And we also know, and this is a bit of good news from him at this point, at least in the Fort Myers area, we know that we haven't seen any significant injuries or deaths as a result of this storm. So that's great news. We do know that this system also spawned at least 24 tornadoes on the East Coast. One of those twisters was deadly here in Fort Myers. A tornado ripped the roof from a home, damaged several businesses. And so that's something they'll be dealing with now. More than 3 million without power across the state. But now with the sun up, crews will be able to get in, get to some of those areas, hopefully start to restore some of that power. That's what you need to really start a recovery process here. And that's where they will begin. They'll begin to clean things up here. What officials are saying is for those that evacuated, and there are several thousand who moved to higher ground, got out of the path of this storm, don't rush back just yet. Let that water recede. Let us get in and do some work. There's nothing you can do at this point anyway, so they're urging people, take your time. Don't cause any problems or put yourself in harm's way trying to get back in too quickly. That's the very latest right now from here in Fort Myers. I'm Jay Gray. Back to you.
Meteorologist Jim Castillo and our entire weather impact team tracked that storm for days. Jim, the cleanup is going to take a long time.
Yeah, and here are some pictures, Kay. So trees down all over the place. These are just friends in Clearwater. You can see big oak trees in Florida, beautiful oak trees, and they're down all over. Even Duke's house here, just this one family and one neighborhood. So again, all over that neighborhood, the oak trees came down last night with a high wind. Not a lot of flooding, at least in that part of Clearwater, but definitely to the south, that storm surge was much greater. And now the storm is moving away from the United States and away from Florida. 75-mile-per-hour wind, still a hurricane, becoming extratropical. And, of course, look at this. We had so many tornado reports. In fact, 126 tornado warnings, the most we've ever seen in any storm system in the United States, second most. The number one was Alabama back in 2011, that big outbreak of tornadoes back then. In terms of rainfall, St. Petersburg over 18 inches, Tampa almost really about 11 and a half. Coming up, our forecast, no rain in it, and we'll talk about the weekend heat coming up.
All right, we'll see you in a few minutes. Don't be surprised to see MoDOT snow vehicles cruising along area highways. Crews are wrapping up their annual winter drill. The drill ensures that crews have proper equipment, plowing techniques, and safety measures in place. MoDOT also updated the community on its winter weather operations plan. Right now, it says it has 3,000 employees and is still trying to hire more ahead of the winter weather season. They're also trying to train new hires right now. A National Weather Service meteorologist who was there for the news conference says expect above average precipitation this winter season. This week, St. Louis is hosting a national conference on reclaiming vacant properties. It comes as Mayor Tashora Jones rolls out a new program targeting problem properties for mandatory repairs. Our political editor, Mark Maxwell, spoke with some of those building owners feeling pressure from City Hall and brings us more on some of their concerns.
At the National Reclaiming Vacant Properties Conference downtown,
our city is in the midst of a long overdue transformation.
Mayor Tashora Jones said racist policies drove white flight and shrank St. Louis.
As a result, parts of our city have long dealt with vacant and abandoned properties.
At a business lunch last week, Jones threw down a gauntlet.
If you're an absentee property owner, read my lips. Neglect is no longer welcome in the city of St. Louis.
She boasted early results from a new venture in the building division.
If owners fail to make needed repairs, the city will exercise our right to hire contractors to complete this work and send the absentee owner a bill. The threat of this program has motivated 18 owners to complete the work themselves.
But they're attaching this, and the property will be sold at a tax sale within a year if you don't pay that.
We met Fred Lewis outside his old J.C. Penney's building on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard.
Why hold on to it?
Because it's a gym. But for a city to take it on their own to determine they want to take your building and attach liens on it because of bogus reasons is crazy to me.
They need to leave them alone.
Nearby, neighbors blamed politicians for decades of inaction.
This vacant property thing been going on for years. Every administration had the same problem, but every administration either failed to do something or done very little.
And they saw politics at play in the timing of this action.
She need a job. It's funny, she getting busy now when she should have got busy when she first got the job.
Lewis recounted the jarring moments when he first learned the city was coming in to do repairs.
Somebody called me, an attorney was outside, said somebody's breaking in your front door.
Instead of pressure from the city, he'd like a partner.
We need to have development. We need to have influx of opportunity. But we don't need overreaching and ignoring the people that have been here.
That was Mark Maxwell reporting. The mayor's office refers to this blitz as an all-hands-on-deck approach to tackle blight. These controversial repair projects are in addition to dozens of properties under eminent domain takeovers in court. According to records obtained by 5 on Your Side, more than 100 properties are on the city's radar for mandatory repairs on the owner's dime. Big news for tennis fans coming up. The legend saying goodbye to the game. Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs back in court. What's expected to happen at this hearing?